Privacy is like air. You don't think about it until it starts to disappear. But when it's gone, life as you know it changes, profoundly and irreversibly. Imagine every thought you've ever had, every decision you've ever made, every fear you've ever wrestled with, laid bare for the world to see. How do you live freely when there's nowhere to hide, nowhere to retreat? Without privacy, there is no sanctuary, no room to breathe. And yet, in today's world, privacy is under constant threat, not through violent means, but through quiet, insidious erosion. The Buddha once said, "Peace comes from within. Do not seek it without." But how can you nurture that peace if the within is constantly exposed? Privacy is not just a shield. It is a sanctuary where peace can grow, unburdened by the demands of the outside world. What privacy truly means. It's not just about locking your door or keeping secrets. Privacy is a state of autonomy, a way of saying this part of me belongs to me alone. Privacy isn't selfish. It's necessary. It's what allows you to process your thoughts, to make sense of your experiences, to decide who you are without interference. Think of privacy as the soil in which your identity takes root. Without it, your sense of self struggles to grow. Consider how the Buddha sought solitude under the Bodhi tree. He wasn't running away from the world. He was seeking the clarity that only comes from being alone with his thoughts. Privacy, in its truest sense, is not about shutting the world out. It's about creating space for the world within. How the quiet erosion of privacy happens? Privacy doesn't vanish in one dramatic moment. It fades away slowly, almost imperceptibly. Think of a dripping faucet. At first it seems harmless. A few drops here, a few drops there, but over time those drops add up. They fill the sink, spill over the edges, and eventually flood the room. This is how privacy is lost, one small compromise at a time. A question you answer that you didn't really want to. A boundary you ignore because it feels awkward to enforce. An okay you say when you really mean no. Even the smallest actions have consequences. Protecting your privacy requires vigilance, a constant awareness of where you draw the line and why it matters. Why privacy loss feels so personal. Losing your privacy doesn't just affect your external life, it shakes you at your core. Why? Because privacy is tied to your sense of safety, your sense of control. When someone invades your privacy, it feels like a personal attack. Not because they've taken something tangible, but because they've crossed into your most sacred space. It's like someone walking into your home uninvited, rummaging through your belongings and leaving everything exposed. This invasion doesn't just make you feel vulnerable. It makes you question your boundaries, your trust, your sense of self. The Buddha often spoke about guarding the mind as you would guard a fortress. Privacy is your fortress. Without it, even the strongest sense of self can crumble. What is the role of privacy in relationships? Privacy in relationships is not about hiding things, it's about respecting boundaries. The most fulfilling relationships aren't those where everything is shared, but those where both people feel safe to hold some things back. Think about the people you're closest to. Why do those relationships feel secure? Likely because there's an unspoken understanding. I trust you, and you trust me, but we each have our own space. Buddha taught the middle way, a path of balance. Privacy in relationships is part of that balance. It allows you to connect deeply without losing yourself. It creates a foundation of trust, a space where both individuals can thrive as individuals. Why privacy is a strength, not a weakness. There's a pervasive myth that privacy is for the weak, for those with something to hide. But the opposite is true. Privacy is for the strong, for those who value their time, their energy, their peace. Protecting your privacy is an act of self-respect. It's a way of saying, I know my worth. I know what I need to thrive, and I will protect it. Self-awareness is the cornerstone of strength. Privacy is an extension of that awareness. It's the recognition that your energy is finite, that not everyone deserves access to your thoughts, your emotions, your life. The emotional dimensions of privacy. Privacy isn't just practical, it's deeply emotional. It's the space where you process your joys, your fears, your hopes, your regrets. Imagine trying to grieve while under a spotlight, or trying to celebrate a personal victory while surrounded by judgmental eyes. Privacy allows you to feel without censoring yourself. It gives you the freedom to laugh, to cry, to reflect, to grow. Buddha spoke often of the inner journey, a journey that requires solitude, introspection, and quiet. Privacy is the modern equivalent of the monk's retreat. It's the space where you can sit with your thoughts, free from the noise of the world. In today's hyper-connected world, protecting your privacy can feel like an uphill battle, but it's not impossible. Start small. Create moments of solitude in your day, even if it's just a few minutes. Set boundaries, and don't be afraid to enforce them. Remember, saying no is not an act of rejection. It's an act of self-respect. And most importantly, be mindful of what you share and with whom. Protecting your privacy requires that same mindful awareness. Privacy, the mirror of authenticity. Privacy is where your authentic self reside. In the public eye, we often wear masks, crafted to meet societal expectations, professional roles, or family dynamics. But who are you when no one's watching? In private, you aren't performing. You aren't filtering your words or reshaping your thoughts to fit an audience. Privacy is where your rawest, most genuine self emerges. It's where you confront your truths, your contradictions, your vulnerabilities. The Buddha taught, be a lamp unto yourself. Privacy is the oil that fuels that lamp. It gives you the clarity to see yourself for who you are, untainted by external influence. Without privacy, you risk losing touch with your true self, becoming a mosaic of others' expectations. Privacy and decision-making. How often do you make decisions under pressure, influenced by others' opinions? Without privacy, this becomes the norm. You consult, you explain, you justify, until the decision no longer feels like your own. Privacy gives you the space to think clearly. It removes the noise, the biases, the unsolicited advice. In this quiet space, you can weigh your options honestly, guided by your values and priorities. Consider to withdraw yourself, not to escape decision-making, but to approach it with clarity and focus. Privacy, in its essence, is about creating the mental stillness needed for sound judgment. The link between privacy and creativity. Every great idea begins in privacy. It's in those quiet, uninterrupted moments that creativity thrives. Privacy is the fertile soil where ideas take root, free from judgment or interference. Think about it. How many of history's greatest thinkers, artists, and innovators sought solitude as part of their creative process? Beethoven composed in isolation. Virginia Woolf wrote about the need for a room of one's own. Even the Buddha's path to enlightenment began with a period of profound solitude. Creativity is vulnerable. It requires a space free from criticism, where ideas can be messy, unpolished, and experimental. Privacy provides that space, nurturing your imagination and allowing it to flourish. The psychological cost of oversharing. We live in an era where oversharing is normalized. Social media platforms encourage us to broadcast our lives, but what does this do to our minds? Oversharing creates a dependency on external approval. You begin to measure your worth by how others react to your life. Privacy, on the other hand, shifts the focus inward. It teaches you to find validation within yourself, to value your experiences for their intrinsic meaning rather than their public appeal. The Buddha's teachings on detachment remind us of the dangers of seeking constant external validation. Privacy is a way of practicing this detachment, of learning to value yourself independent of others' perceptions. The connection between privacy and freedom. Privacy and freedom are intertwined. Without privacy, can you truly be free? If every action is watched, every word monitored, every thought dissected, where does your autonomy go? Freedom is the ability to make choices without fear of judgment or consequence. Privacy provides the space for those choices to be made. It allows you to experiment, to take risks, to grow, all without the suffocating weight of scrutiny. The Buddha emphasized liberation as the ultimate goal of human existence. In many ways, privacy is a form of liberation. It's a freedom from external control, from societal expectations, from the need to conform. The role of privacy in healing, whether physical, emotional, or spiritual, requires privacy. It's in private that we process our pain, confront our fears, and rebuild our strength. Imagine trying to heal while under constant observation. It's impossible. You need privacy to grieve, to reflect, to forgive. You need it to sit with your emotions, to let them rise and fall without interference. Privacy is your version of that solitude, a space where healing can unfold naturally, without pressure or distraction. How? Privacy shapes identity. Your identity is not fixed. It's fluid, constantly evolving. Privacy plays a crucial role in this evolution. It's where you experiment with different aspects of yourself, where you try on new ideas, values, and beliefs. Privacy is the canvas on which you paint the ever-changing picture of who you are. The Buddha taught that identity is not a static concept, but a process of becoming. Privacy allows you the freedom to engage in this process, to discover who you are without fear or hesitation. Privacy as a form of power. Privacy is often underestimated, seen as a passive concept. But in reality, privacy is a form of power. It's the ability to control what others see and know about you. It's the power to set boundaries, to protect your energy, to preserve your peace. Think about the Buddha's refusal to engage in fruitless debates. He understood the power of preserving his mental and emotional resources. Privacy is your way of doing the same. It's a way of reclaiming your power, of deciding how much of yourself to share and with whom. The quiet strength of boundaries. Privacy is closely tied to boundaries. And boundaries are not walls, they are bridges. They don't shut people out. They show them how to engage with you respectfully. Setting boundaries can feel uncomfortable, especially if you're not used to it. But remember this, boundaries are an act of self-love. They're a way of saying, I value myself enough to protect my peace. The Buddha's teachings on the middle path remind us that balance is key. Boundaries create that balance, allowing you to maintain your relationships while safeguarding your inner world. Privacy and legacy. Privacy shapes the legacy you leave behind. What do you want to be remembered for? What stories, values, and truths will define your life? Privacy gives you the space to craft that legacy intentionally. It allows you to focus on what truly matters, free from distractions or external pressures. The Buddha's teachings remind us that the ripple effects of our actions extend far beyond our lives. Protecting your privacy is a way of ensuring that those ripples reflect your most authentic self. Privacy is not just about keeping secrets or guarding personal information. It's about maintaining the space in which you can be your true self. In a world that constantly demands attention, it's the sanctuary where your thoughts, emotions, and decisions can grow undisturbed. Just as a tree needs its roots in the earth to stand tall, your sense of self needs privacy to thrive in a world that's always watching, always listening. By protecting your privacy, you protect your peace, your power, and your freedom. You preserve the quiet spaces where you can think, create, and heal. You grant yourself the time and space to discover who you are without outside interference, to cultivate wisdom from within. As you move through the noise of modern life, remember, privacy isn't just a luxury or a right, it's a form of strength. It's the space where your soul can rest, renew, and remember its true nature. In a world where everything is constantly exposed, the ability to guard your privacy is one of the most powerful acts of self-respect you can make. So, as you continue on your path, ask yourself, how are you protecting your privacy? What boundaries do you need to set in order to honor your inner world and cultivate peace? For it's in the practice of safeguarding your privacy that you find the freedom to truly live.